Welcome back, and back to our top story now. The DA says the ANC's efforts to win back the Western Cape in the run-up to the May 8th elections will be fruitless. The party was responding to a video of the ANC's Secretary-General Ace Magashule handing out money during a door-to-door campaign in Philippi yesterday. The DA has since asked the Independent Electoral Commission to launch a formal investigation into the matter. To discuss this, we are joined from our Durban studios by political analyst Xolani Dube. Good afternoon, Xolani. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks a lot, as well as to the viewers at home.
Now, is this a breach of the electoral code, what Magashule did?
Look, I think there are rules and regulations, as well as a kind of a behavior that the political parties are supposed to respect during these times of elections. And so, as you have said earlier on, when you were introducing this discussion, it seems as if, yes, there are transgressions that he committed. But if you remember, in 2014, that the current president, Cyril Ramaphosa, as well as Fransman, in the Western Cape, they did the same thing, where they offered about 1,500, if I'm not mistaken, to one of the women in that particular province. And there were no repercussions about that. And so I think that it is quite interesting and is quite applaudable that the IEC is starting to take steps to those whom they think that have transgressed the electoral laws. And so I think to a certain extent, yes, when it comes to the laws that governs the behavior during this time of political parties, it seems as if it has transgressed. But on the other side, we have to ask ourselves, are we supposed to suspend the basic tenets of our constitution, the basic tenets that guide our behavior when we see someone in need? And so are we supposed to suspend Ubuntu? And so I think that might be also another discourse that might be factor into this kind of behavior that we saw portrayed by Ace Magashule. But on the other side, it worries that we see such kind of kindness, generosity from politicians during the times of election. But before, when the elections are gone, we don't see them visiting these families, doing such kind of gesture.
Well, you put that into quite a neat perspective. Do you think the DA has a case?
I think DA do have a case, because these are elections. But as I've said, in terms of law, yes. But in terms of moral and ethics, I don't think that the South Africans will really be sympathetic to DA. But look, when you talk about morals and ethics, we're talking about something totally different when it comes to the South African politician, and especially the man who's been alleged that he has committed so much transgression in his office while he was still the Premier of Free State. And so that's why I'm saying we are sandwiched between law and morality, and at the same time we look with those suspicious eyes to say, really, can we really appreciate, warmly embrace what Ace did in Western Cape? Because we know what kind of a man he is, and we know what he was trying to achieve deep down. But look, another thing that we have to ask ourselves, we have EFF, where Julius Malema publicly pronounced that for EFF to be considered a legal entity with the IEC, they source funding from a self-confessed cigarette smuggler, someone who currently is under investigation by a South African receiver of revenue or SABC. And that also opened a can of worms to say, if Ace did such kind of an act, and on the other side we have an EFF that registered with IEC through the proceedings of crime, what is it going to happen to IEC? And so I think with the public, we need also to start to interrogate that particular act or kind of a generosity of Mazoti to the EFF, and that lead EFF to register with the IEC. And so when we look with ACE, we need to look at the totality in terms of the conduct of all political organizations.
But can you equate the two? We're looking at a handover of a few hundred rand by Ace Magashule, and you're looking at massive amounts of money that Masoni would have given to the EFF for their own funding.
We are looking within the realm or within the ambiguities of the law to say, is EFF in relation to receiving money to Mazoti and take that money to register with the EFF, was it a transgression? Is Ace Magashule kind of inverted commas generosity
Good
to
Samaritan.
a potential electorate? Was it against the law, or is it within the law? And so that's why I'm saying, when we as citizens, the potential voters, when such kind of act of Ace Magashule, it opened a can of worms to also other acts of all the political parties, because in this time we need to ask frank and honest question, and such question must not be suspended because it's election and then we might be branded as if we are the campaigning political organization. We want political organization who occupy the seats of honorability in parliament be honorable.
Now, Magashule was seen handing over money in 2 incidents on camera. If found guilty, what is likely to happen?
Look, as we have said earlier on, there might be a fine, and also surely he willingly will pay that fine. ANC's got huge reserves, 200,000 is just is nothing to them, and so I think they can simply pay that money. But look, another sad reality is the jubilation of the recipient of Ace Magashule's generosity. And also the fact that he even went inside that house and see the living condition of those people, that those people they don't have even food except medication. And so really, if he was someone who was caring, someone who was not the so-called modern politician, but a social activist, someone who wants to see South Africa and its citizens going to a particular direction in terms of normal, healthy life. I think the ANC is supposed to do a serious introspection. That kind of a fridge without food, it speaks volume about the democracy and its relation to its economy, to such kind of people, that people must not expect such handouts of 400 rand during the times of election. But the ANC must, as a governing party, must always look after its people. And also it showed that possible the issue of social grant is not sufficient enough to sustain the livelihood of those who are the recipient of social grant. And so there is so much layers that one can unpeel in that particular incident.
Well, thank you very much. We'll have to leave it there. That was our analyst, political analyst, Xolani Dube, joining us from our Durban studio.